Hello, listeners, and happy spring. Before we get started with this week's episode, I wanted to invite you, yes, you, to participate in a project I'm working on. I want to do a whole episode on Mamals, the matriarchal goddesses of Appalachia. Do you have a story about your mamaw? A special memory you wouldn't mind sharing? Send a voice memo or transcript to mountainlaurelspod@gmail.com. and you'll be featured in the season 1 finale of this podcast. That's mountainlaurelspod@gmail.com. Thank you for letting me have a little spelling bee at the beginning of this episode. Y'all, I'm so excited for you to hear this week's episode. Stacie Fugate is one of my favorite people. No lie. We recorded this episode 2 months ago, which doesn't seem that long ago, but also does. Anyway, it seems to be getting more and more relevant by the day. I think you'll know what I mean when you hear it. Let's just dive right in and learn all about the legendary Mother Jones.
Okay, so Mother Jones.
Mother Jones.
What an icon, a legend.
I mean, yeah.
And I did wear my Hellraiser socks for her today.
Which is perfect because Hellraiser she is.
Yes.
R.I.P.
One of the R.I.P. Mother Jones, you would have loved Raising Hell with us.
You did love Raising Hell.
You did love Raising Hell. Some of the research that I did, it said she was a self-proclaimed Hellraiser, but I'm just like, I don't think that had to be a self-proclamation. It was, everybody knew her as a Hellraiser, and I love that. She was once quoted saying, "I know no life without struggle." And that's very true. And much like Eula Hall, we talked about, you and Kara had talked about how a lot of her childhood was very formative of the activist work that she did later on.
Yeah.
And I feel like it was the same with Mother Jones. Not as much as her childhood, but like in her formative teenage years. And so whenever she was 10, her family, it was a family of immigrants, which I think is really topical.
Where did they immigrate from?
Ireland.
Oh, okay.
They fled the Great Potato Famine.
Oh.
Yes. So they fled to Canada when Mother Jones was 10. And actually her actual name is Mary Harris. And so Mary and her family fled to Canada whenever she was 10 from the Great Potato Famine. So there's a struggle right there already, very early on. She eventually ended up marrying George Jones, not the possum, not the iconic country music singer.
That's so great, though.
Right? Whenever I found that out, I was like, wow.
Yeah.
What a story.
Oh, wow.
So Mary Harris married George Jones, and they lived in Memphis together. They had 4 kids. And once again, tragedy struck, and a yellow fever epidemic swept through Memphis and actually killed... It took George and their 4 children, and that was in 1867. So Mary was born in 1837.
Okay.
Yes, 1837, and then by like 1867, late 1860s, she had been married, had 4 children, and had all of them taken away from her.
So she was like in her 30s.
Yes.
Wow.
Yes.
I'm thinking of that because I'm 30. I'm almost 32.
Yeah.
And I think millennials, you're not millennial, you're Gen Z.
Oh, so I'm 26. I feel like I'm on a good cusp.
You're a baby.
I feel like
I'm saying that as someone that's not that much older than you, but like in my mind, I think of where I was at 26 and I'm like, Stacie has it together.
Oh my God, no. I am a great actress.
You're a fabulous actress then. Like, I'm shocked I didn't see you get an Oscar nomination.
Oh my gosh.
But,
me and Timothy.
Yeah. 2 complete unknowns.
Okay.
But anyway, sorry. Anyway, I just, but no, I think like millennials were like, we've lived through 9/11. Actually, one of my first political memories of like seeing things on the news is the Monica Lewinsky scandal.
Oh, yeah.
So I'm like, I've lived through, the recession, 9/11, all this stuff. Mother Jones herself lived through a lot. I mean, that's the Civil War happened in her lifetime.
Oh my goodness. Yeah. And it's so bizarre to me because I feel like that's not even a main plot point of her life. The Civil War is not. And, she is an immigrant. And so...
maybe a little bit different for her, yeah.
Yeah, it's a little bit of a different perspective for her in that way. But, yeah, by the time she's like 30, 40, like all of her family had been taken away from her. So she moved to Chicago. This is something really special about Mother Jones, too, that I think really speaks to our Appalachian culture, is that she's really resilient. And so as soon as, her family's taken away from her, she's like, I've got to rebuild. I've got to do something. And she moves to Chicago. She originally, whenever she first moved to Canada, she had trained to be a school teacher. So she was getting educated for that. But when she moved to Chicago, she was like, I want to be a seamstress.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's so cool.
Yeah. So she ended up being a seamstress, dressmaker. And once again, tragedy comes looming around. She had a pretty successful business, but the Great Chicago Fire actually took her business. And according to some of my research, I couldn't get the details on if it destroyed all of her home and belongings. But that's kind of what I think radicalized her in, seeing people rebuilding from the ground up and facing all of these tragedies herself. So I would say after the Great Chicago Fire is really when she dove into English.
When she dove into...
Yes. So after the Great Chicago Fire is really, I think, whenever she dove into activism work and labor organizing. That's when I think her initial group that she kind of joined were the Knights of Labor, which was it was kind of an all-inclusive labor union. And they worked towards not only economic change, but social change as well. And she was one of the only women to really be in the labor organizing space, which is what makes her a standout character in the labor organizing movement.
Yeah.
She referred to anyone that she got to, because men were really in the workforce at that time. And so she referred to all of them as her boys. And so her famous slogan is like, join the union, boys, And personally, I love calling 50, 60-year-old men boys.
Oh, me too.
It's empowering in a way that I cannot explain.
I 100% agree, because I forget people's names very often.
Yes.
Specifically men. And if I'm talking to someone, I'll be like, that boy, that boy.
Yeah.
That boy. Yeah. And I'm talking about Elon Musk.
That boy that does bad things.
That boy who benefited from apartheid. That guy.
Yeah.
That boy.
I'm the same way. And I think my mom I grew up with my mom not being super specific whenever she was referring to someone specific. And she'd be like, so-and-so's boy. And
that's like a very Appalachian, I'm sorry to get us on the sidebar, but that's a very Appalachian thing to be like, let me name their 4 cousins before I can tell you what their name is.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And what their 4 cousins have done in the last 10 years.
Yes. And so Mother Jones, we're back.
We're back.
Sorry, we're just reviewing some notes. So she joins Knights of Labor and she starts organizing strikes. The strikes and protests at first really failed. And as I had said, most of the members of the Knights were men, but by the middle of the 1870s, so probably not even 10 years into Mother Jones's labor organizing, member numbers actually leaped to more than 1 million. So it became the largest labor organization in the United States. And so Mother Jones had kind of went on to, she has her hand in a little bit of all of the labor laws that we have today. So she helped coordinate securing bans of child labor. She co-founded the Labor Unionist Trade Union, and then even the Industrial Workers of the World. And so I would say that's some stuff that I found really interesting about her, because I think that my view of her, especially whenever I studied Appalachian Studies, it's like all you hear about Mother Jones is her role in the Battle of Blair Mountain. And that's actually more towards the end of her career, because she passed away in 1930. She was 93.
Wow.
And living to be 93 whenever they did not have advanced medicine, I'm not a doctor, but I think that maybe raising a little hell probably gives you longevity of life.
Yeah. Well, I hope so, certainly.
I hope so. I will live forever. I'll be immortal.
That is pretty fascinating, though. Like, to think that I feel like in Appalachian spaces, maybe we think of Battle of Blair Mountain as her shining moment, and she did a lot more before she was involved in that, and before that was even taking place.
She did so much, and actually, I think it was just a few weeks or a few months earlier than the Battle of Blair Mountain. You know, there were the start of the mine wars on Paint Creek, but some coal miners were organizing a march in Logan County, West Virginia, and actually Mother Jones opposed that strike, which was very unlike her.
Yeah.
But I think that she did it. I couldn't get a ton of clarification on why she did it, but I know that she kind of forged a telegram from the president at the time and said, like, hey, you know, this is going to cause a lot of bloodshed.
So she was trying to prevent violence.
Yes, I think she was trying to prevent an extreme loss of life.
Okay, yeah.
Especially because I think whenever she first started out organizing, a lot of her protests failed. And it was like, and by failed, I mean there was a lot of lives lost.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, that, I think it kind of like damaged her reputation a little bit there at the end of just like, because she opposed that march, and then the Battle of Blair Mountain happened, and, you know, she still worked with them and was like one of the main organizers of the Battle of Blair Mountain. But it's so wild to me that shortly before that, there was a march that she was like vehemently against.
Yeah, she was actually like, you know, actually I think when I think about that, it's maybe she had the experience that others didn't have, and probably saw it as, I would have to think at least, like saw it as more of a loss for them, you know, than a win for them being the workers and the union. But it is interesting to think, like, just weeks before the Battle of Blair Mountain, she was sort of predicting that major violence, major bloodshed had to happen, or was going to happen, was inevitable.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, and going back to the point of, you know, the Battle of Blair Mountain being like her shining moment, and something that I think that we as Appalachians really hang on to. Before I started researching Mother Jones, I did not know all of her history, obviously, but it's like, I also didn't know how nationwide she was. Like, she's Mrs. Worldwide, you know what I mean? Genuinely, because she's in Colorado negotiating for child labor laws. She also did the March of the Mill Children in 1901, and that's whenever the Pennsylvania silk mills went on strike, and many of them were actually young girls demanding to be paid adult wages. And it was a 125-mile trek to Kensington, Philadelphia, to the summer house of President Theodore Roosevelt.
Wow.
So she led a gaggle of children 125 miles just down the road to a president's summer home. Could you imagine if that happened today?
Yeah. That does make me think about how I have thought about the way that modern protests look now. And it's a lot of just like marching in the street. But I think about Occupy Wall Street as a very good example of something that relates to this.
Absolutely.
You know? Like, more action like that, please. More action like that.
Yes. And so
show up at their summer homes.
Yes. Don't let them be ladies who lunch. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Yes. Civil unrest is very effective historically. And I think it's what we need today, obviously. But I think that, I mean, Mother Jones just epitomizes who I want to be as an Appalachian. You know, she's organizing. She is tapping into a market of people who she wasn't expected to be able to tap into. I mean, she's a woman to be organizing men. And especially, I mean, back in the day, toxic masculinity is still running rampant today. Could you imagine whenever women weren't even allowed to like work, you know, or own a home, or when women had debatably less rights than we do today?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, up in the air still, but yeah.
Yeah, up in the air. We'll see. We'll see. Potentially. Yeah, and so as with every activist, there has been times where Mother Jones has been criminally charged. And so a few of those incidents include Paint Creek. So there's a Cabin Creek strike of 1912, and that was in West Virginia. Mother Jones arrived in June. She was speaking and organizing. And then martial law actually in the area was declared and rescinded twice before Jones was arrested on February 13th, 1913. So she was in the area for some time, actually like invoking riots and civil unrest and things like this. So she was taken to jail. And it was actually like a makeshift jail. It wasn't the state penitentiary just yet. She was actually sentenced to 20 years in the state penitentiary, though.
Oh, wow.
Yes. But
just for, so she was sentenced for just participating in the strike or for leading?
For leading it.
Okay.
Yeah, she was leading the whole dang thing. And so they arraigned her, and she was taken to Mrs. Kearney's boarding house, which was like a makeshift prison of sorts.
But for women.
Yeah, I'm sure. It was just women.
I like how it's like termed a boarding house.
So Mother Jones Prison, also known as Miss Kearney's boarding house, was located at Pratt, Kanawha County, West Virginia. It was a large 2-story structure conducted by the Willis brothers and used mostly as a boarding house. It was the prison in which labor organizer and agitator, I love that the internet calls her an agitator, Mary Harris Mother Jones was detained during the 1912 through 1913 mine wars. The building was a National Historical Landmark, even though it was delisted in 1997 after being demolished in 1996. So I don't know who made that executive decision to demolish that house, but
it's interesting that they're like the terminology boarding house.
Yes.
Because like I this is maybe just me being stupid, so I'm sorry if someone's listening and you're like, she should have known this. When I think of boarding house, I just think of like something where, I don't know, people are like knitting and enjoying life.
Exactly. And so
I don't know. That's just like a really weird. This is a bigger conversation than Mother Jones, but maybe even a smaller conversation. It's just the terminology boarding houses.
No, I'm the same way, though. I think of boarding houses as like in line with like finishing schools, you know?
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
Where ladies learn to lunch and have tea and their manners and etiquette and things like that. But it's interesting because
they were trying to get the Hellraiser out of her.
Yes, they were. I think that's what they were trying to do. And other articles have also referred to it as a very makeshift house. And so there's a part of me that feels, again, wasn't there, but there's a part of me that feels like she had some level of respect amongst law enforcement because she was sentenced to 20 years in a state penitentiary, but they took her to this little makeshift place first. And I don't really know the logic behind that. But I do know that she acquired a pretty gnarly case of pneumonia there. And she ended up getting better and all of those things, but she was actually released after 85 days of confinement. And her release coincided with Senator John Kern of West Virginia. He started doing an investigation into local coal mines. And so she was kind of pardoned, if you think about it.
Wow.
Yeah. So think about, you get a 20-year life sentence at, okay, let me see. That was 1913. So she was 83. At 83, you get a 20-year life sentence.
That's why they sent her to a boarding house. She was 83.
Yeah.
She was
a lady.
She was a lady.
That's Mamaw.
Yeah. They're like, go to the Mamaw house first.
Yeah.
We'll see how you do there. And then she got pardoned. So she was like, I don't even care.
Yeah. So you're 83, you get a 20-year sentence. And then after 85 days, the legislature comes through for once in your life.
Yeah.
And it's like, peace out, Girl Scout. You're good to go.
Yeah. And then she's like, secretly, y'all have no idea about what I'm about to do.
Yes.
You have no idea what's coming for you.
Yeah. She's
and
like,
she's
just
83 years old. That's so iconic.
I know. At 83, just putting your whole heart and soul into organizing folks to have a better life and not even really seeing the fruits of your labor, I think is the part that gets me a little bit emotional about Mother Jones is that, I mean, she lived to be 93.
Yeah.
You know, passed away in 1930. And I mean, labor conditions still didn't fully improve. And I don't think they're still fully improved.
Yeah, we're not where we should be.
Yeah, we're definitely not where we should be. But she has the word like trailblazer and breaking glass ceilings, I think don't even do the work that Mother Jones did justice.
Yeah, and it goes back to I hear or I see these things on the internet like memes all the time that's like what radicalized you or what, you know, people are just, you know, what made it to where you when they're people in activist spaces or they are progressive, people are always like, what made you this way? What made you fight for these things? And obviously she had a lot going on in her life like we talked about. So it's like Mother Jones's whole life is what radicalized her. I don't even like saying radicalized because it's getting taken to where people are like, it's a bad word.
Yeah, that it's a bad word, or it's so funny to me that some people are like, oh my gosh, I've been radicalized, and they just like took a lunch break on work. You know what I mean? And it's like,
yeah.
Okay. Everybody's got to start somewhere though.
Yeah.
So I'm trying not to be elitist in that way. But
yeah, no, totally.
You know,
at the same time, I think that people are the radical whatever. The radical what? The radical is a bad word. Mm-hmm. So I don't know. I try to not use it that much.
Yeah.
But I do love the memes.
Yeah.
So keep the memes going.
Please. It's the only thing feeding me at this point.
Yeah. And let me say, this is a recent thing for me.
Oh?
This is a recent thing for me because I'm just thinking about terminology and how like we choose the words that we use. And I think I even like referenced someone on this podcast that we've already done, like called them radical in a good way. Mm-hmm. But like, I'm starting to see how our own terminology is being used against us. Like people that advocate for things and are for more progressive policies, how they are being used against us and everything we say. So there's just this part of me that's like, okay, do we need to use our own words against them?
Reclaim radicals.
Reclaim, like, but not even the word radical. I don't know what I would call it. Maybe just saying American. And
you know, that's a really interesting topic to me is I had never been out of the country until last year. And so I had never encountered like being immersed in another culture and having people's opinions of my country like so at the forefront of our conversations. Every single person that I talked to asked me about Donald Trump. And that's genuine. Some of them said, please don't vote for the orange man. That was also something that was said to me. But it was like upon coming home, I wasn't like homesick the whole trip. Like I was gone for like 8 days, nothing crazy. But I remember whenever I was coming home, I felt such a sense of pride. And that was really odd for me because I think today, if you hear that someone is patriotic, you think that they're like super right-leaning nationalist, you know, like
patriotism and nationalism seem like the same thing.
They are synonymous in today's culture. And so, but I remember coming home from out of the country and I was like, I'm really glad to be home. Like, I'm really thankful that I got this experience and it was great and I'm going to go out of the country again, right? But it was like, I just remember feeling so befuddled by that kind of, because I was like, I've never felt like dang.
I mean, yeah.
I'm glad to be in America.
Yeah,
you know?
right. That's not a feeling that I have often. No.
And so I think it's a reclamation of, you know, like proud to be an American. Values.
That's the word we need to take.
Yes.
Like American values and redefining what American values are, because for most of America's time, it has been not good.
Yeah. And what
maybe since its inception, let's be honest.
Maybe there's a lot of things that those folks have done wrong. But no, so I think that's an interesting point about reclaiming the values of what it means to live in this country and to be. And I always say, like, anytime, I think we're all guilty of being like, I hate this country, right? But I love the land 100%. And I love the people. And so that's something that I really have to remind myself of on the days that I'm feeling super burnt out and not really feeling like I'm going to move the needle on any of the issues.
Right. I had a similar experience after I was in Europe for a couple of weeks. Coming back, I was like, well, first of all, I always have this experience when I travel where I'm like, we were not meant to fly. It's wild that we even do this. Why are we doing this to ourselves?
Yes.
It's just that sort of shock. My body has like a whole shock about that. But then I came home and I was like, I want a Pal's burger so bad.
Yeah. You want ice in your drink?
That was like the first thing I did. And it's just like the little things. But when I think about going back to values and going back to Mother Jones, America's systemic values have been corrupt since its inception. Mm-hmm. But I feel like the values of people are a higher standard, actually. Mm-hmm. And that's because you don't get people like Mother Jones in America. She's an immigrant. Mm-hmm. But goes back to immigration and why it's so important.
Yes.
But it's just like, you don't get that without like, you don't get these things that we do like in America and changes that are positive without having people holding the country to a higher standard, the systems to a higher standard, and pushing for betterment for all, like Mother Jones did, without like having the agitators.
Exactly. Yeah. And so having those people who are willing to pave the way and not be liked, and be willing to, you get your foot in the door for one meeting, but you say something at that one meeting that may not get you invited back, but it'll leave the other folks at the table with something to think about. And that's what Mother Jones did.
Yeah.
She didn't care if she was invited to the soirees or the social events. Like, she was here for a job and she really didn't care who she pissed off. And that's how you have to be, especially in oppressive systems.
Yes.
Something interesting is that her birthday actually isn't exactly known. So sources that I've found say that she was baptized in 1837. Yes, 1837. Sorry. People also think that she was born in 1837. And so in 1930, when she passed away, some sources say she was 93, but then apparently there is a self-proclamation that she was actually 100.
Maybe she was just rounding up.
But also here's the thing. If I live to be 93, I'm going to live to be 100.
Yeah.
It's like Betty White. Like,
I'm close enough.
She's close enough. That girl was 100 when she passed away. I'm sorry.
Also, it seems like she's like someone that lived so many lives,
Yes.
So,
yes.
So yeah, let her be 100.
Let her be 100. Who am I? Who am I to tell Mother Jones that she can't say she's 100?
Exactly.
And so, yeah, she passed away, in Silver Spring, Maryland. And, almost immediately after the Battle of Blair Mountain in 1921, she retreated back. I think it was
So what was her role really? Like, what was her role in the Battle of Blair Mountain?
I think, from what I know, she was just one of the prominent organizers of it. And I think that she really pushed... I think that she really got involved with it because her protesting the march in Logan County really put a blunder on her reputation. And I think that's because, so she had this telegram from the president at the time.
But it was not real.
It was not real. And so and she refused to show anyone. She's like, I have this telegram for the president. And they were like, let's see. And she was like,
no one can know.
She said, well.
That's a good way to not get a felony.
Yeah, it is. And also the Secretary of State was like confirming that they had never sent one, allegedly. They had never sent any any telegram to Mother Jones. And so a lot of people at that time really struggled with the veracity of that telegram.
Yeah.
And so, that damaged her reputation. And so I think that's why she was a prominent figure in the Battle of Blair Mountain.
She needed to get her rep back.
Yeah.
Well, what a complicated sort of woman. This Logan County thing is so interesting to me because I'd never heard about it.
Mm-hmm.
And just plagiarizing a message from the president to be like, you guys shouldn't strike. In her mind, I have to think she's just like, if this happens, it's going to cause more damage and more harm than good. But then she totally jumped on the Battle of Blair Mountain. She was like, yeah.
And apparently, so I just pulled up an article. So here's the little blurb that it has about it. Mother Jones attempted to stop miners from marching into Logan County, West Virginia in late August 1921. Mother Jones also visited the governor and departed, assured he would intervene. Jones opposed the armed march, appeared on the line of march, and told them to go home. In her hand, she claimed to have a telegram from President Warren Harding offering to work to end the private police in West Virginia if they returned home. So this telegram, she's like, he says he's going to, end private police if you all will comply and go home. But UMW President Frank Keeney demanded to see the telegram. Mother Jones refused, and he denounced her as a fake because she refused to show anyone the telegram, and the president's secretary denied ever having sent one. She was suspected of having fabricated the story, and then after she fled the camp, she reportedly suffered a nervous breakdown.
Wow.
And so
this is such a complicated story. Like, to go from that to then being known as one of the main organizers of Battle of Blair Mountain is such a like a whiplash moment.
Exactly. And so it also says in the later years that Jones remained a union organizer for the United Mine Workers into the 1920s and continued to speak on union affairs almost until she died. She released her own account of her experiences in the labor movement as the autobiography of Mother Jones. And I have not read that book, and I didn't know she had this book, and so I'm very excited to dive into that soon.
Yeah, I didn't know that existed either.
Because if she's recounting it herself, it's going to be a little spicy.
It's going to be spicy, and also I would want to know exactly. I would want to know if she even talks about that. Stopping a strike.
Yeah. I don't know. It's interesting because it's such a paradox. Like, I wonder what her motivation was. Well, I think her motivation for, denouncing the march in Logan County is probably because she thought that there was going to be a lot of bloodshed and maybe it wouldn't really benefit anything. Because also the research that I did, whenever she first got into labor organizing, there were a lot of massacres and there were a lot of, which that's just what they used to do to protesters, right?
Yeah.
And so I think that probably she's looking back on young Mary Harris and thinking, okay, well, we don't want a repeat of this, especially so late in my organizing career. That could be that's my only thought for the motivation that she could have for wanting to denounce this march.
Right. It doesn't align with her, what we think of as her character.
Because otherwise she didn't give a shit.
Yeah. Hellraiser.
Truly. One of Mother Jones's most prominent quotes, and one of my favorite quotes by her, is "Pray for the dead and fight like hell for the living." And I think that's especially important in today's political climate, both nationally and internationally. There's been a ton of bloodshed and lives lost over the past however many years. Anything that the U.S. intervenes in, obviously. But it just it motivates me every day thinking of who Mother Jones was and how her legacy continues to live on.
We talked about there being a Mother Jones magazine.
Yeah.
But I think there's something to her nickname being Mother Jones.
Yeah.
Mother,
the blueprint.
Yes.
I'm so glad that they nicknamed her Mother because that's Mother.
And it's a term of, like, you think of caregiver and someone that makes you feel safe, usually. So Mother being her first title there. Yeah, I think that's just the power of women.
Yeah.
Honestly. And I remember reading something once about Mother Jones. This was years ago, so if I get this wrong, I'm sorry. But it was something like she could make men bend to her will with one wag of her finger or something like that.
And that little black dress she wore. Okay, it actually wasn't short. It was very modest. But
yeah.
The power of a little black dress and the wag of a finger.
Yeah. And she was someone that the government truly feared because of the way that she could organize, which is kind of hilarious to me.
Yeah.
Because she's just one woman. But she really knew her power, and she knew the power of people.
And I'm thinking of her as, like I would think about my mama, which is very stereotypical Appalachian mama. Not that she was Appalachian necessarily by birth, but I feel like she was looking at these men who are well into their 30s and 40s, and she's like, now boys, join the union. And then they're like, yes, ma'am. Like a little afraid of her, you know?
And again, she had no stake in this. Yeah. She had no stake in it. I think this is like an important thing. It's like she had no stake in whether she was not a minor.
Yeah.
She had no family.
Didn't have a husband in the mines.
Didn't have a husband. Didn't have, yeah. That is just so sort of, it's just she knew what was right. And she wanted people to get what they were owed and get what they were due. And that's what I'm going back to these values thing.
Yeah.
Like the values thing. This is, I feel like I've had a revelation on this podcast, just recording this.
Heck yeah.
I'm like, values is the word we need to focus on.
It's the word of 2025.
And it's not, it's not radical values.
No.
It's I don't even want to say American values because American values is kind of tainted to me.
Yeah.
But like.
Bad taste in the mouth.
Yeah. Values, moral values. I don't know what we go there, but values is something that I'm sort of thinking about realigning our values.
Yeah. Some other fun little tidbits that I found.
Fun fact section.
Yes. In 2019, Mother Jones was inducted into the National Mining Hall of Fame, which, why did it take almost 100 years? And I posed the listeners of the National Mining Hall of Fame, why did it take almost 100 years? If she was a man, would it have taken less time? Just food for thought.
I want to know who all is in that Hall of Fame also.
Do you want to look really quick?
If you can look it up, yeah.
Oh my God, yeah.
Do you think Loretta Lynn's in there? Just for coal miner's daughter.
Oh, just for coal miner's daughter. But I will say if Loretta Lynn got in there before... Oh, it says my Wi-Fi is down.
That's on me.
It's fine.
I don't have my phone, sorry.
No, it's okay.
I never do. That's my problem.
It's for the best. We need to get rid of those little screens. There is a Mary Harris Mother Jones Elementary School in Adelphi, Maryland, which I think is formerly known as Silver Springs, which is where she passed away.
Great song, by the way.
Yeah.
Also not related to anything, but that's a great song. Silver Springs by Fleetwood Mac.
Yes, so true. On February 25th, 1925, Gene Autry recorded the W.C. Calloway composition, The Death of Mother Jones. There's a lot of tidbits about her in the arts, like the title track of folk roots duo Wishing Chair and Cara Bernard's 2002 album, Disband Brigade, is about Jones and her role in the 1899 to 1900 miners' strike in Pennsylvania. She was a part of all kinds of strikes, too. Is that she's negotiating deals in Colorado. She's doing things in Pennsylvania. She's in West Virginia. She's in Chicago. Girl, rest.
Yeah, also, it fascinates me to learn this about people who were not, this being so far in the past, had no screens to communicate with.
Yes.
I feel like there's, to a degree, I feel like they were so much more organized than...
Yeah, and I think it really speaks to her level of dedication to be able to be, truly cross-country in a time when, it's obvious she didn't have a lot of money.
Right, yeah.
To be cross-country, to be organizing, the sheer dedication and determination that you have to have, and discipline. There had to be times where she was feeling burnt out after doing all of this work. But, discipline shows up when motivation doesn't. And so I think that that's really true for Mother Jones. And that is exemplified throughout her entire history of bebopping from place to place to place, still getting shit done.
Yeah. I need that quote on my, on a mood board.
I can't remember where I heard that. I definitely didn't come up with that myself, I don't think.
No, I think I've heard of that in workout terms before.
Yeah.
Of,
oh my God.
Get up and get your cardio in, girlfriend.
Yeah. Don't talk to me before I've had my cardio.
Oh, something I've never said.
And I'll never say it again because that's not true.
But yeah, I definitely like can hear it in that sort of world. But thinking about it in another sort of way, just as we're, preparing for fresh news every day from our I don't want to get banned, so I'm just gonna stop there.
Right. Mother Jones's words are still invoked by Union supporters more than a century later. Pray for the dead and fight like hell for the living. Already known as the miner's angel when she was denounced on the floor of the United States Senate as the grandmother of all agitators, she replied, "I hope to live long enough to be the great-grandmother of all agitators."
She did.
So she's on this Senate floor, and they're like trying to slander this woman and talking down to her and making her feel like she is pea-sized and saying, "You're the grandmother of all agitators."
And she dropped another,
And she said, "Well, I hope I'm the great-grandmother too."
That's amazing. That's the sort of stuff I want to see, like in our modern day too.
Yes, absolutely. Let's see. Students at Wheeling Jesuit University in Wheeling, West Virginia can apply to reside in Mother Jones House, an off-campus service house. Residents perform at least 10 hours of community service each week and participate in community dinners and events. What other fun facts? Oh, the imprisonment of Mother Jones is commemorated by the state of West Virginia through a historic highway marker.
Wow, that's interesting to think about.
Yeah, the marker was made by the West Virginia Division of Culture and History. The marker reads, Pratt, first settled in the early 1780s and incorporated in 1905. Important site in 1912-13 Paint Cabin Creek Strike. And so that's...
So it's just a historical marker.
Yeah, so
okay.
Paint Creek Strike was one of the first strikes throughout the mine wars as a whole. Yeah, and there's a ton of influences from Mother Jones in music and the arts. Like people have wrote plays about her, wrote songs about her, obviously. She has her own autobiography, but I'm sure other people have written books about her as well. So she has a legacy much bigger than anything I'm sure she ever dreamed of having.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
I think if you would have told 37-year-old Mary Harris that had just lost her entire family that she would go on to be one of the most influential labor organizers in United States history, I don't know if she would have believed you.
No, probably not. But I can't imagine that she would have.
But she seems like a spitfire enough to be like, yeah,
maybe.
That's probably right.
Maybe.
Yeah, that's probably true.
Also, just to go back, like at 83, she could have just decided to spend her days out in a boarding house.
No. And she was like, let me get arrested and go to this boarding house.
Yeah.
For civil unrest.
I'm interested in how maybe Mother Jones has influenced what you do.
Yeah.
If you want to talk a little bit about your 50 million jobs.
Something that I'm trying to work on also, not having 15 million jobs. I don't dream of labor and so this is a meme. You hear all the time, especially within Gen Z, I don't dream of labor. Do we think that Mother Jones dreamed of labor? I think that she could have dreamed of a just labor.
Yeah.
But I don't know. But also, she was also 83 and was like, yeah, I'm going to do this important work and get arrested for it. And that's going to be a lot on me, So it makes me think.
This is a whole different conversation, and I don't know that I'll keep this in the podcast. If you are a white woman posting rest is resistance, and that is the only resistance you're doing, think about that. Just
big.
Maybe think about that.
Yeah.
Because what you're actually doing is shielding yourself from the reality of other people that they live with every single day. And I'm not here to preach or anything, and I'm not even going to say that I'm a perfect person or whatever when it relates to these things. But I see that so much. It's grown so much popularity. And I think it has been taken over. I loved it. Like, I love the meaning behind it, but I feel like it's been sort of co-opted by white people, white women especially.
Yeah, and they fail to check their privilege at the door whenever you say that sort of thing.
Exactly.
You know?
Exactly.
That's good. That's some good food for thought. Something that I don't think we've talked about as far as Mother Jones goes. So around this same time, women are really advocating for the right to vote. And so these timelines are very close together. And actually, Mother Jones was criticized because of her lack of effort / support of women's rights.
Like that.
In terms of voting.
Yeah.
Yeah. And she was quoted saying, "You don't need to be able to vote to raise hell." Which is so true.
That's true. Also, she can't be in every fight.
I mean,
and that's something we all need to understand. You can't have your space in every fight.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna give her a little bit of a pass on that.
Oh, me too. And so it says that she opposed many activists because she believed it was more important to advocate for the working class than to advocate for just women. And then when some suffragists accused her of being anti-women's rights, she said she's not anti-anything that provides freedom for her class. And so I think that's a really important tidbit too of, I think Mother Jones was so effective because she really stayed in her lane and honed in on what was important to her. Not that other things aren't important to her, but where she focused her energy.
Also, she was calling out white feminism before even, I feel like that's something we've more recently called out, but she was calling out white feminism.
Before it was cool.
Yeah.
And so.
Before we even had the right to vote.
Yeah. And so that was. The whole rest is resistance thing kind of made me think of that part of Mother Jones as well that I think is not talked about enough of her. I mean, everybody contains multitudes, but she was just such a thought leader in terms of how to affect real change on the ground. And I think that makes her really special.
Yeah, and a class consciousness too that's beyond her years, I think.
And something that I think a lot of Americans fail to grasp today is that class consciousness. And, because not to get too deep into it, but propaganda has a lot of people thinking that they have more in common with billionaires than they do with their Democrat neighbor. And that's just not true, obviously. And so it's, I think that we could all take something from Mother Jones' legacy, whether that be her activism, whether that be her mindset around raising hell, or the way that, she was an eloquent speaker to affect change. I think there's always something to benefit us in learning about Mother Jones' legacy. And what's benefited me, back to your question, sorry, I know that
let's talk about your 50-11 jobs.
Yeah, let's talk about me. And something that has really affected my mindset whenever I think about Mother Jones is it's really that discipline aspect that she had, because I do think of how difficult it probably was for a woman, first of all, a woman with no money, second of all, and a woman that is notoriously looked at as, I think by, working class folks, she was beheld as someone who was a great person, but to people in positions of power and authority, she probably wasn't liked very much. So thinking of how Mary Mother Jones Harris, Mary, what would her name be? Mary Harris Mother Jones.
I would go with Mary Mother Jones Harris.
But Jones is her married name.
Oh.
So Mary Harris.
Mother Mary Harris Jones.
Yeah. I'm not going to try to say it all. So thinking about the way that Mother Jones really moved through the world despite all of the adversity that she faced in her formative years, but also in her labor organizing and activism, that's what informs my work, I think. And so, not that I would ever, like compare myself and be like, oh my God, no, I'm Mother Jones. But I think that it's really important to think of all of the women and all of the fantastic role models that came before us in the work that we do. And it allows for that motivation to kind of seep in, you know? And what I mean by that is it's really easy to get bogged down and feel like your work is siloed and feel like, oh, you'll never move the needle on issues that are plaguing our area. And I think that's especially true for Appalachians. But when you think about, you know, people like Eula Hall, people like Mother Jones, when you think of folks like that, it's hard not to feel a sense of, number one, gratitude, but a sense of debt, you know, like, hey, it may be really hard for me to send this email about this project that I really need to move forward because, you know, I'm really busy, or, you know, it's really hard for me to plan this event because I'm, you know, there's just so many loose ends. But whenever you look at it from a 10,000 point view, activists and organizers back in the day didn't use those excuses, and they didn't let anything get in the way. And I think it goes back to your point about rest is resistance. They would have never said that, no. I don't think. And they would have laughed at anyone who did. And so it's, you know, it's important to have work-life balance and things like that. But at the same time, you really have to reckon with, okay, how would the people who came before me answer this or deal with this? Does that make sense?
Yeah, totally. I think about that a lot because there are so many, not just women, but so many queer activists, so many people that just put themselves out there over and over again, not just to fight for people in Appalachia, but also to fight for people nationwide. Mm-hmm. Mother Jones being one of those, right? And you know also that they felt these same things, like, we're not going to move the needle. We're going to, people coming up against whatever. Things take a lot of time. Mm-hmm. Even though they feel obvious to us.
Yeah.
It takes a lot of time to just like hone in that message, get people on board, unless there's something, you know, like the Battle of Blair Mountain that is going to change minds really quickly.
Exactly. The largest labor uprising, the largest labor uprising in United States history, but also the bloodiest battle since the Civil War.
Yeah. Yeah. So you have moments like that, obviously, where people can change their minds pretty quickly. But most things are bureaucratic to a degree that you can really feel like you're making movement. You're like pushing things. You're gaining momentum. I think that the best example of this is thinking that America was a post-racial country after Obama got elected.
Yeah.
Obviously not the case.
Yeah.
And what fools to think that that was true.
Honestly, yes. And I hold, in my work with Appalachians for Appalachia, I hold kind of a paradox of, and I really admire the way that Mother Jones was kind of able to balance this. And we kind of alluded to it earlier, is how do you incite change and make it happen fairly quickly in a way that still allows you to have a seat at the table? And that's something that I think about a lot, is Appalachians for Appalachia is a progressive organization, but we have a 501c3 status. And so that in and of itself... For now.
I'm kidding. I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. That was funny. But in that in and of itself, like, we're in the room and we're, you know, talking about progressive politics and talking about issues that face the Appalachian region, but we can't go too far because then something like our 501c3 status could be taken away. And so it's a really interesting paradox to be able to work in an activism space, but that there's still a lot of red tape that you have to adhere to. And so I think about, how do you hold both of those things? How do you push the boundary as far as someone like Mother Jones did, but, still be scrutinized by some members of the legislature, but still be pardoned for example, from her time in prison. And so it's kind of a little bit back and forth in my mind about, how do we break glass ceilings, but also be allowed in the room at all for those conversations.
It's walking a tightrope.
Yes. Very delicate balance.
And I am someone that has a, history of working for nonprofits, and also acknowledge they can push us forward. And also at the same time, we are not going to 501c3 our way out of a lot of things.
Exactly.
That's just the reality.
No, 100%. 100%. And so I think especially with this new administration, we have to think about how we navigate that and how we go forward and do the work like Mother Jones would want us to, because clearly she had it figured out.
She had it. Yeah. She was intersectional before we were talking about intersectionality.
Yeah.
She was calling out white feminism
before
women had the right to vote.
Yeah.
I think it's important to also note there that, they were fighting for the right to have white women to vote.
Yes. 100%.
And she knew that. A class consciousness at a very early time. Ahead of the game there.
Yeah.
She may have not had everything figured out. I'm still a little shocked about the Logan County strike.
Me too.
But I also think her legacy lives on because she made an impact, and nobody can take that away from her.
Yeah, nobody can take that away from her, and nobody could measure up, Nobody has yet to measure up, in my opinion, in terms of labor organizing, and not just labor organizing for adults, but for children's rights within child labor laws. She is one of the main players there as well. And so, yeah, I don't think anybody measures up in that space.
I don't think so either. What an icon.
Honestly.
Not Appalachian by birth, but
Appalachian in our hearts.
Appalachian in our hearts, an honorary Appalachian woman.
Oh, for sure. Easy. And also, whenever we first texted about this, I did not know that Mother Jones was not Appalachian.
Oh, really?
I didn't. No, and that's kind of stupid on me. That's why I was like, I would love to talk about Mother Jones, because I knew that she was really prominent in the Battle of Blair Mountain, obviously, but yeah, I had no idea that she was an immigrant. And so whenever I found that out, I was like, oh my goodness, this is, I think, a perfect point in time to talk about how important immigrants are. Not to get too political. Have we been too political on this podcast?
I think, let's be honest. It's a political podcast because everything we do is political.
That's true.
Every action and decision we make is political.
Yes.
No matter what it is. If it's doing a podcast, me just doing a podcast about women is political.
Yeah.
This is a DEI podcast, Stacie.
Yes. And I am a DEI hire right now.
I, too, am a DEI hire as a woman. And also, I need people to understand that Appalachian is classified as DEI as well. Yes. We are underserved communities, y'all. Yes.
So
we are the DEI, baby.
So the next time you want to vote red, maybe don't.
I'm not going to tell anyone how to vote because that could get me banned.
That's true. And that would...
I'll just cut that part.
We'll edit that one out. Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Oh my God, no, of course. Thank you for having me.
Any parting words for the people other than telling them how to vote? No, I'm just kidding. Any parting words?
May we all live and work like Mother Jones did, and praying for the dead, but fighting like hell for the living for at least the next 4 years.
And beyond.
Amen.
Thank you so much for listening. This podcast is produced and edited by me, Jessica Miles. Our artwork is created by Hayden Miles, and our theme music is produced by Kenny and Hayden Miles. If you'd like to support the show, you can find me on Patreon at patreon.com/Mountain Laurels Podcast. You can also follow the show on Instagram and Blue Sky. I'll see you next week.